It is utterly impossible for someone who has even got a slightest of interest in the literature to not come across the writings of Charles Dickens. Dickens is everywhere, especially in English literature. His short stories are part of curriculum in schools, his novels are studied across the universities, his writing appeals to everyone, be it a schoolboy or an academic. He was not only one of the most beautiful of the writers, but also the prolific one as well, which led him to produce 15 novels and numerous short stories and novellas. Therefore, it is only reasonable to have a few tips from a writer of such a stature. Dickens never wrote anything directly in regards of how to write, but he had written numerous letters to different people, dropping his idea of writing here and there. So hello and welcome to Literoseious. I am Yash Purohit, and in this video we'll be looking at 4 writing tips from Charles Dickens. Number 1. Experience the life. In a letter dated 15th February 1867, Dickens, after reading the manuscript of an aspiring writer, wrote, "I think you are too ambitious, and that you have not sufficient knowledge of life or a character to venture on so comprehensive an attempt. Evidences of inexperience in every way and of your power being far below the situations that you imagine present themselves to me in almost every page I have read." It is only obvious that Dickens wrote from his own experience. When we see 10 years old David working in Murdstone's wine factory, we feel for him in almost every sentence. We see the child labour of Victorian England in front of our eyes, not only because Dickens was a master storyteller, but because Dickens had experienced the labour in his childhood. And even more than that, he was very keen in recollecting the hardships, both emotional and physical, and transform it onto the pages so beautifully that perhaps only a stone heart would not shed a tear. Number 2. Stick to the job. Dickens believed in hard work. Now, it may sound like the commonest of the advices, because hard work is required to get success not only in writing but in any other aspect of life. But writing is, for the most part, a solitary occupation. Therefore, it is easy for us to get distracted, especially when we don't feel particularly inspired. In such situation, Dickens' solution was, stick to the job. He had a very formulaic approach towards writing. He would wake up around 7 in the morning, had breakfast by 8, and by 9 am he would be found in his study working on his novel, and would remain there till 2 pm. No matter what happens, he would remain there in his study. That is to say, even if inspiration don't strike him. During the evening, he would take long walks around London. These walks were the reason for Dickens' great understanding of the city of London, which is reflected all over his work and which even James Joyce admired. Number 3. Embrace the writer's block. As said, Dickens would remain in his study for 5 hours, even at the times when he was struck by the writer's block. He would remain in his study and focus on the story. Even if he is not writing anything, he was still thinking about the story. A particular instance that comes to mind is the time when Dickens struggled through the block while writing Barnaby Rudge, about which he writes in a letter to John Foster. "I didn't stir out yesterday, but sat and thought all day, not writing a line, not so much as the cross of a T or dot of an I. I imagined forth a good deal of Barnaby by keeping my mind steadily upon him, and am happy to say I have gone to work this morning in a good tweak, strong hope and cheerful spirits." Number 4. Observe the ordinary and make it extraordinary. If you have read Dumas, you will instantly learn that his major characters are rather extraordinary, and Dumas did it by having his characters achieve some great feats. For instance, D'Artagnan saving the Queen of France. No such things ever happen in Dickens. Most of his characters are common people, living an average life by performing average feats. Now obviously, Dumas and Dickens were utterly different writers, but the point I'm trying to make here is that though Dickens' characters were all ordinary, he made them extraordinary by his keen observation and remarkable use of language, which is filled with high imagination and powered by detailed description. For instance, at one point in David Copperfield, Dickens, describing David's coming back to home, writes, "We sat round the fire and talked delightfully. I told them what a hard master Mr. Creakle was, and they pitied me very much. I told them what a fine fellow Steerforth was, and what a patron of mine, and Peggotty said she would walk a score of miles to see him. I took the little baby in my arms when it was awake, and nursed it lovingly. When it was asleep again, I crept close to my mother's side according to my old customs, broken now a long time, and sat with my arms embracing her waist and my little red cheek on her shoulder, and once more felt her beautiful hair drooping over me, like an angel's wing, as I used to think, I recollect, and was very happy indeed. Nothing extraordinary happens here, yet Dickens manages to rouse so many emotions in the reader by describing simple pleasures of life. Dickens was a great writer, a master storyteller and a remarkable artist, but at the heart of Dickens was entertainment. Therefore, the key takeaway from Dickens's writing was: make them laugh, make them cry, make them wait.